All right, so market continues to grind higher. We're, you know, technically what we call is way overbought short term. General rule in technicals though is short term oversold uh, tends to resolve itself a lot more easily or dramatically than short term overbought. Meaning, like if the market gets hammered, um, back in those days when we were a little bit more volatile a couple of years ago, gets hammered for a few days, you just get these sharp reversals. Tops they're different. Sometimes they kind of peter out, move sideways, and break to the downside. But as I've been saying for the last week or so, if we compare this to 2013, getting into the mid 280s puts us in a spot where we make sense, in my view, to look for a larger pullback. And so now that we're getting to 284, that's the mid 280s, anywhere between here and 286. I'm going to look for some changes. I'm going to start to put on some puts, some 280s, as I think I mentioned yesterday. And then if I see in the price action a change in market behavior, try to press it and try to capture a real pullback, something into the 270s. So that is my thought on that. Looking at it yesterday, it looks like 283.5. We topped out in the morning, couldn't get above in the afternoon, and we're gapping above this morning. So the first thing we do is watch what does it look like on a pullback to 283.5. Does it hold and continue the upward trend, or does it breach it? And then we watch to see if that's the beginning of something. But from when we top, we want to see like a red bar, like something like this, like a nice big one intraday. And then we want to see some sideways action and then some real accelerated selling. So that's what we'll look for. And change. IWM's well above 160 now. So this one is now taking out the prior high by about $1. Don't really have as strong thoughts on this. We'll just watch now and see if it continue to consolidate above this, I guess, 159.40, where it peaked out, came off a few dollars, then had trouble there. Once it's through now. So 159 to 159.40. If it comes back down that area, I want to see if there's buyers. Actually, let's say 158.80 to 159.40. All right, UAL. So UAL numbers looked okay to me. This thing these airline stocks have been wild the last few months in terms of the up moves and the down moves. So here's the daily. So, I mean, I remember this down move here, trying to buy a couple of days later. It had a little bounce and then it went lower. This breakout here, I guess I did actually short on the third. I started shorting, I think, trying on the second day, and then I did catch shorted here and kind of lost track of it. But it was just way overdone here. It did end up coming down and moving sideways. So it's basically coming into earnings, it ran up from the high 60s to almost $80. So it seems like they're trying to erase that move now and bring it back to a more normal uptrend to this area here. The gap fill takes it all the way back through $70. Let's zoom in let's go to the 30-minute. Again, this one trades 4 million shares, so we easily could be looking at 10 plus million shares today. It's going to be liquid. And it generally moves $1.70 or so we could be looking at $3 to $4 intraday range. I mean, ideally, the best thing would be for it to kind of pop up a little bit and then fail and go to $70, and then we'd look to bottom fish down there. So if we look at the initial move, took it to 73, popped up to 74.5. The new low was 72.70. We came in this morning, it couldn't get above 72.70. So 72.70 is kind of the first. What did I put on the sheet? I was more aggressive on the upside. 72. Okay, so 72 to 73 is the first spot we'll look for if it starts to bounce. And then above that, it's really 74.5, not 70. I put 75 on the sheet, but it's really the 74.5. Seller's still definitely in control, right? Goes lower, tries to bounce up here. Seller's coming at 72.5. It's a lower low. So I guess on the open, if it popped up in this area, I'd have trouble. This is where I would look to try it on the short side for a move down to 70 to 71, and then go from there. But there should be opportunities in both directions until it kind of settles in and we see if it can have a real bounce. Down 8% right now. Next one is PBYI, which is a thinner stock, a much thinner stock than UAL. Here's what the daily looks like. See, it was pretty wild on the way up. Obviously, there was some good news related to drugs. Went from $40 to 68, and then after going up to 100, came back down, tested 71.5, 72. We're gapping below that now. I'm looking at the analyst price targets, and a bunch of them have lowered them, but their lowered targets are anywhere from like, I'm gonna say, here to here, and they're gapping, and the stock's gapping down to here. So I like that. Like when the news is bad and the analysts lower their targets, the stock's 20% below the targets, 30% below the targets. I think then people will maybe start to look for bounces. So, and we have the issue here is if it kind of breaks through the support, which it's below 69 right now, it had gone so vertical here. So you wonder if you could really get some type of vertical move at some point today. Like, I don't think it's going back down to 40, but just goes straight down and reverses $5, then stabilizes, and then we start to be able to trade it a little bit more with more risk control. Let me zoom in. So something earlier, somebody said something, and they caused it to spike up to 71.5. I heard something on the news feed. Clearly, that was being bought here at 65. At 8 o'clock this morning, when the institution started rolling in, they bought at 65. They ran it up about $1, came down, made a higher low, and the volume came in on whatever that chirp was, the news chirp, and they ran it up $4. So I don't know if we're going to get the flush back down here, 64, 65, where they're buying in the pre-market. I have 72 and 75, and use 70 as an inflection. So it's going to be a lot riskier. And obviously, UAL normally trades 700,000 shares. It could easily do 3 to 5 million shares today, which makes it more liquid, but it's still going to be pretty wild. So it looks like maybe it's trying to make a higher low here. That's the first thing I'm going to look for. It's going to make a higher low here and start to break this little mini downtrend from pre-market move. Back up to here, and then we'll see. So I'm mentally prepared to play it in either direction. It's down so much, though, that I'd be more comfortable kind of holding it if it started to slowly grind up, holding it for a big move. It's down $23.5 right now. You get long, it's down $25. You easily catch a move to $5, still down $20. So TXN. TXN inline EPS, I thought the inline guidance, big negative reaction. So let me look and see what it's done recently. Has it run up a lot? Yes, it has. So January 12th, it was at 110, and it went to 120. So it's erased that move. It's another one. Kind of trying to break the longer term uptrend now. This prior high here where it broke out from about a week ago is what's acting as support. It's done 250,000 shares, which is at 5% of its daily volume. And they're buying it here. I mean, they're clearly buying it here, 111.25. Look at this, 111.25, they're buying. It goes to 112.50. It comes right back down. The buyers are still there. So we got to keep an eye on this. So let me add that to the sheet. Pre-market buyer 111 quarter. And then below that, if flushes, 110 is the natural level where I'm sure there's plenty of institutional bids. All right. FSLR. So FSLR, we talked about in yesterday's morning meeting. For the few of you who were able to participate because of the technical problems, that the news didn't really seem like it would help them that much, the Chinese tariffs. And I don't need to repeat why that is, but I said it would be difficult for it to sustain above 72. I thought because of that, if other people realized it. It seemed like in the pre-market people did, we said it'd come down from the initial reaction, but they did the same thing again. They spiked it up here. It was a difficult short on the open. Actually, after failing at 74, made the new high before the hard reversal. But even if you were more conservative and waited for the hard reversal and then waited for it to get below 72, it was very clean below 72, going right back and filling the gap to 69. Eventually did, after filling the gap from 69, looks like tried to bounce back up to 70, made a new low and caught a bid there. So I put on the sheet to watch the 69.5 to 70 because coming in before that news, it was weak. But it had sold off from 76. It broke through 70, and as long as it's below 70, it can pull back more. So you do have the support here on 69. Yeah, again, it went straight down to 69 where it had been accumulated before the up move. So 69 to 70 is a pretty important price range. Weight Watchers I put on here because I looked at it after the breakout above 50, but it was overdone on the second day when it went to 58. Now it's gone up another $10. So we should watch this because at some point it is going to have a $4 to $6 down move, I think, pretty quickly. So it's gapping up again this morning. See if it goes straight up on the open and then has a hard down move back below 68, something like that. But depending on where it tops out, let's say it tops out at 69, a move back down to 64.70 would be pretty reasonable. But certainly at least down to 66. So I shorted a few shares at 68 in the free market just to keep an eye on it. And then finally Netflix. This is one you probably may have heard me on the open. I tried on the quick pop above 56 to get it here. I couldn't get any shares. I didn't really want to chase it all the way back down a few dollars. It did come back hard down to 248, which had been kind of important in the after hours. Caught the bid there, made the lower high. And basically what happened the rest of the day was it held a large gap and was accumulated. So right now, that's the first sign of evidence that it can go to higher prices. When you have a gap this big that really doesn't erase even like a third of it, it's bullish. So I still got a couple of shares from the 250 area. I feel like if it's holding above 253 or it's holding below 248.5, those are kind of the next potential moves there. I'd love for it to actually just not really move outside of that for a couple of days, and so we can get some consolidation and get some energy out of the next big move. And that's it. So back in New York, things should be normal in terms of meetings and everything. As always, be patient and good luck.
Hope you enjoyed that video. You can actually watch that video if you're subscribed to our Trader 90 before the market even opens. What stocks are in play? What levels in those stocks are important, and how we might go about attacking that stock. That's Steve Spencer, 20-year veteran trader, laying it out there every morning before the market even opens. A really, really powerful tool to start your session off on the right foot. So right now we're offering a trial that you can take advantage of to access this meeting and other meetings throughout the day. We have a meeting at 11 a.m. Eastern where you can sit down with Mike Bellafiore and listen to him talk about what's going on during the morning session, what stocks were in play, what the best trade opportunities were, as well as maybe some things that we're looking at heading into the afternoon session. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that trial.